You know, again, this will be the third year in a row that I've done some audio presentations here with you, and as a lot of you know, I'm out quite a little. I'm recording quite a little. Okay, and again, everybody is fairly familiar with the classic sounds, as I call them, the howls, the screams, you know, that type of thing. And again, they're fascinating. They're a lot of fun, and it'll put the hair up on the back of your neck every doggone time. But recently, over the course of the last couple of years, I've been getting more stuff that's anomalous, if you will. It was sounding more like mimicking. There was one time where, you know, I got out, set up a recorder early morning, and I heard, hey. And to me, it sounded like it was a human. Well, it was bow season. So I thought, oh man, I've come up on someone's spot where they're at a tree stand. Well, I just finished setting up my mic, and away we went. Hour and a half, 2 hours later, I could never see them. When I left that area, there were no other vehicles in that area. So that got me a lot to thinking of, is this mimicking really happening? Go to the next one. You know, what is mimicking? Mimicking is the ability for one animal to sound like another or like something else. The most common one that all of us know about is parrots. We've got 3 parrots at home, and we've got one that will whistle the Oscar Mayer Wiener song. It knows all the video game noises from the 80s. And every now and then you'll hear a man die or whatever that do-do-do-do-do is that it does. She speaks, she talks. They're probably the best mimickers out there. In the wild, you've also got crows and ravens that end up doing quite a little mimicking out there. And until I saw a crow do it, I didn't think they could. But again, they do some mimicking. Another one that's good is, again, people. You know, how many comedians will sound like another comedian, another person completely, even though that's not the way they talk? I mean, there's folks that have dealt with the owl, or not owls, wolves down in Texas. That feller can make the howl that a wolf will do, and you can put it up on a spectrogram, and you can't tell it from a regular wolf. It is just that clear. So, then you keep hearing people talking about Sasquatch mimicking. You know, I think for the researchers that go out a lot, it's pretty much an accepted fact. But for me, sometimes accepted facts aren't good enough. So part of what I do out there is when I record, I try to see if I can catch what is mimicking. Sometimes we kind of question in the Bigfoot community, why would something mimic? One speculation is that they're doing it for confusing prey, maybe calling in some food. In the case that I ran into at first when it said, hey, it was diverting attention. Now, whether it was wanting me to look in its area because it was wanting to laugh at me, it was dark, I couldn't see, or whether there might have been something that it didn't want me to see. And by diverting my attention that way, I didn't see something move up. Go ahead, go to the next one, please. You know, so again, the question is, can we record mimicking? Can we document that it's actually happening so we don't just say we think it's happening? Back when I first started going into the woods a lot, again, early morning, my wife leaves for work at about 4:30 in the morning. So a lot of times I'll hop in the truck, take a thermos of coffee, and out in the woods I'll go. And in 2012, I recorded something that to me sounded like a backup alarm. You know, anybody that's worked in factories or been around big equipment knows that beep, beep, beep type situation that goes on. And I heard that in the woods. Go ahead and play it. This is what it sounded like. And again, that's what I heard. Now this is out in the middle of the doggone woods. It's a good... I'll play that on that one. Again, I set them up a little bit different now, man. You know, I heard that, and to me it sounded like a backup alarm. I worked in factories all my life, so again, that was a normal thing to hear. Now you hop, skip up 2 years later, I took Bernie in as a research partner. We were out in the woods one night, in the same area that I recorded this beeping, and I was telling him the story about how I heard that, and to me it really sounded like a mimic. It didn't sound like it was the real thing. And again, Deers Road was over a mile away. And 4 times that night, I did the beep, beep, beep. Now when he plays this next clip, you'll hear me, and then I've got it amplified. They're faint. When I do all my audio review, I'm wearing headphones, so it seems to pull things in a little bit more, but I think you'll be able to hear it. But I'm not the only one that has trouble trying to figure them out. Now that one was the most faint one. That was the first one we got. And when I actually was doing the audio review, I heard it, but I thought, no, that's got to be my imagination. Okay. Go ahead, you can go ahead and do the next one there. Third one. You can just hear a bit in the background after I'm done. Go with the next one, please. That go all the way through? Yeah, did you catch that by chance? Because again, I know this is a faint type of situation, but there was something in the woods that day mimicking what I was saying. Okay, go ahead and play the last one. Again, it was a little bit more patient this time. You know, and again, I realize that's not real clear, but next time I'm going to know where to put the microphone further away from the truck. But again, that to me satisfied that, yes, something is out there, and it does have the ability to mimic people and sounds. Go ahead and go to the next one. Now, the next question that I have then is this mimic, or is it possibly something else? Because these next few clips that we're going to play here were on unattended recorders out in the woods. These were on drop boxes or my parabolic setups, however I was doing it at the time. You know, anywhere from 1 mile to 2 miles from camp. This first one, again, was kind of in the same area that the beep, beep, beep was and what that last one was. And it was caught back in 2012. Go ahead, please. So, was that something laughing at me? And nobody was there? Again, short and sweet. I mean, I can't say for sure what it was, but it definitely sounded unusual. And you're doing the audio review and there's nobody there and that sound comes up. Go ahead and play the next one, please. And again, that was in another area. Now those two, if they play back to back, almost have the same tone, like they're the same critter that's doing both of them. The second one was recorded in 2014. when I go out and do a lot of setup in the woods, I very seldom just take one recorder. Okay, we've got one place that we've set recorders up, a parabolic, and we point it in a certain direction that we've had some activity. Now, one thing about these parabolic microphones is you don't have to be close to hear them. You set up a parabolic and you can hear the ridge down below. You can, a quarter mile away, you can hear the sounds that are coming on. So, that was set up in an area that we now call Pine Ridge, or it was on a trail that we came in on, but it was pointed in an area that we now call Pine Ridge. And that was the first audio that I'd gotten in that in 2013, telling me that's an area I might want to do some looking at. Well, we've got so many areas that have a lot of fun, but we don't always get to them. Later on, or last fall, we did end up setting up on Pine Ridge. Would you play that, please? You know, what is that? Is that a scream? Doesn't really sound like one. Is it a howl? Definitely doesn't fit that category either. So then what is it? I mean, I'd like to say that it was mimicking kids playing, but there were no kids in the woods at 11 o'clock at night. There better not be. You know, just one of those situations that the more we catch that stuff, the more you got to question, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with, again, something that is a brutish ape type situation that some want? I mean, the television stations love to have you this big monster that's mean and scary, but it sounds like it's a type of communication. Now this next one he's going to play, really, when you hear it, it makes my skin crawl. We opened up another area that we call Tired Ridge. Now we went out there, we had DW out there here a while ago.
You gotta tell
And, you know, we had set up a night, we sat out camp till about midnight, and that was happening. Yeah, I left the parabolics overnight, I'll go get them the next morning. And doing the audio review, again, little or nothing, some screams, some howls, but they were so distant we really couldn't tell what was going on. And then all of a sudden, this jumped out at me. What in the is that? There was nobody there. This thing, the nearest road was the road we come in on it, and it was 1.5 miles away. There was nothing around there. And to have that type of sound. Can you turn your volume up on your computer just a little bit more? Crank that thing all the way if you would. Okay. I like that.
Everybody's my witness. You told me to turn it up loud.
I said crank her up. Can we play that one more time? Because again, it's just weird. I don't know what to think of it. And you jumped. You know, what do you do when that's all by itself? When there's nothing around? I mean, we were there, but this was 2 hours after we left. Now again, I'm saying, can this possibly be mimic? I don't think so. There's to me something more going on. You go ahead and go next. Now this one again, there's people. Scott Nelson was one that did some stuff on Samurai Chatter, Sierra Sounds, whatever you want to call it. where he was taking and thinking there was some language involved with it. The guy knows a whole lot more than I do, so I'm not going to argue with him. But again, I come from Missouri, show me. You know, and these next clips that we're going to play, when we set up at night, I've got a recorder at camp. We always have a camp recorder going. Usually we'll set it farther away from camp so you can hear more than, you know, Bernie and I talking or with the grandkids when they're out. And stuff shows up on it that is not part of camp. You know, this has all basically been in one area, and when I say one area, folks, I'm not talking a quarter section, I'm not talking, you know, 40 feet, I'm talking about 5 square miles, okay? So this isn't something that I can say, we go right here and we sit, and we always have. I mean, the area is big that we deal with. And with this one, we're at camp. It sounds like something small hits the recorder. And then right after that, there's a sound that doesn't make any sense. Please. You know, that wasn't us. We were a long ways away from that part on camp. And again, what does that? What known animal in the woods could do that? I haven't found any, folks, and I spend a lot of time with headphones on. Every time I find an unknown sound, I will do my best to go to the different websites that have animal sounds to compare it to. You know, before it ever hits the forums as far as evidence, before I ever make it with a presentation, I've spent a lot of hours trying to find out if I'm misidentifying a critter. Go ahead. Next. Listen to this one. Now again, I've dealt with an investigation where people talked about, I hear them humming all the time. And, you know, are they singing? Well, damned if I know. But, you know, we were at camp. We were about 40 foot, 50 foot from that. We never heard that hum then. So if we never heard it, how close was it? But far enough away we couldn't. Well, both Bernie and I are kind of hard of hearing factories and whatever all of our lives, so it's not unusual that we don't hear some stuff. But again, it almost sounded like there was, you know, a humming like you would, you know, is that a mimic? We didn't hum that night. Bernie and I definitely can't sing, so there was no singing. Go ahead and play this thing. Did you catch that little bit right in the middle there? Try it one more time. It was almost like, hey, yay. And again, that was caught off that recorder. And again, we weren't that far away from camp, but again, far enough. Now this last one, I don't see him in here. That's good. One of Bernie or I, and I'm not supposed to mention anybody's name, goes out in the woods once in a while during the day and reads a book. Well, once in a while, the one I'm not supposed to name the name of falls asleep. Now, that can be some interesting stuff, because one day we recorded what sounded like something messing around the back of his pickup. He's sleeping 6 foot away in his chair. This one was another time, oh, there he did find me, that he was out, he got himself dozed off. Yeah, just go ahead and play it. What is it? It wasn't his snoring. I've listened to hours of that. You know, what's in the woods that makes that type of noise? You want to play you know, oh. So now again, the question is this a mimic? Or could this be something else? You know, go ahead and head for the last page if you'd like. You know, my conclusion is, with the evidence that I've collected over the last few years, I am about 99.999% sure I can say yes. If Sasquatch is in the area, they can mimic. Now, with the rest of this stuff, I'm not so sure I want to even speculate on what might be going on. I realize that some folks talk about language. I don't know enough about it. I mean, I run the woods collecting data. I try to compare that data with everything I know. And when I can't find nothing that admits that data, I've got to give it to somebody else then. And that's part of the biggest problem we got in the Bigfoot community is scientists won't listen to it. You know, if we could just have someone listen to some of this and say yay or nay. I mean, if I'm misidentifying an animal that's making these noises, please folks tell me so. Because I don't like to have something like that happen. When I put out, I really think it's got something to do with Sasquatch. We found prints, we found structures, we found manipulations, we found bows, we've had the classic howls, the classic screams. Then we get this stuff. You know, last year, if any was here and heard my presentation, there was a grunting incident that I talked about last year. And that grunting, the closest animal I could find to compare it to was a mountain gorilla. Now, if they can sound like a mountain gorilla, that sounds like a pretty primitive type sound. So then what's this? How complex are these critters? You know, it can be just baffling at times when we're out there. Because again, every time we expect this is going to happen, something opposite does. They seem to adapt very quickly. You know, and again, one thing is for certain out there. Something is making this noise. Again, if it is not Sasquatch, what the heck is it? And again, that's pretty well it for me today. Anybody got any questions? Yes, sir.
I agree.
Okay, the reason why we call this place Tired Ridge is the landowner next to it's got a fence. In their side of the fence, they're pretty testy about people coming over there because they got all these motorcycle trails that they run their motorcycles through. When they have flat tires, and they replace their motorcycle tires, they hang the motorcycle tires on the fence. So it's Tired Ridge. That's why we call it that.
Randy, do you notice a bit of commonality on some of these sounds? I mean, have you heard it, have you heard it in different areas?
You know,
Same sound in different areas.
yes, it's not all in the same identical area, no. Again, you know, my area is about 5 miles, the research area that I do. You know, and I've caught it on there. But when I compare it to some of the stuff that, you know, again, your group, Jim Sherman's put some of that mumbling stuff out. And, you know, it sounds so similar. You know, I could even put it on the spectrograms and find out that, you know, yeah, it's built up the same way. But, you know, I've got some that sound like they're high-pitched. Some that sound like they're low-pitched gruff. You know, I'd like to say, well, I know that's because it's a female and a male or chill. I'm not going there because I don't know. I didn't see them do this stuff. It's just stuff I've caught with my audio. But just the different tones that you get, I can't believe that there's one critter making those different tone changes. But again, I do know that there are critters around this country that are doing the same thing. Because again, the BFRO's got some stuff out there that I've listened to, and I could say it's a dead ringer. So, and this one that we're talking about, Jim Sherman, he's up in the UP of Michigan. That's a long walk for something to run up there and hoax him and then come down and hoax me. Anybody else?
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
On your audio program, can you single out, you know, like the mimic and kind of, can you actually make a file for it and move it and get more clarity on it?
Well,
Section out.
we can cut sections out, but one thing I found out with the filters, I use Audacity. Okay, I'm cheap, it's free. But it does a good job of cutting stuff out. And the more filters you seem to put in, I can eliminate some of that background noise. But the only problem is by doing that, it also seems to degrade what you're trying to listen to. When you get to a certain point with it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, for those of you that have been around and know me, I use a grading system for my audio. It's kind of like playing baseball. Strikeout, those are the nights that you hear bugs, you hear frogs, you hear nothing. First base is something that, yeah, I can hear it way out there, and the audio recorders actually picked it up. But it's so far out, there's so much noise between here and there, that I can say, yeah, something howled. Yeah, something screamed. But I can't tell you what it was. There's no way anybody can identify that. Then I got my second base, which is a lot clearer. Throw a little bit of a filter in there and it cleans it up pretty well, but it still doesn't show up real good on my spectrogram. My third base, those are the ones that, with a little bit of filtering, it's got a good spectrogram where I can compare it with foxes, coyotes, bear, wild hogs, birds, whatever. And then again, I've got what I call my home runners, and that's the ones that, they're close enough, even with the ambient sounds, you don't need any filterization to hear exactly what's going on with it. Unfortunately, with most of these that was played today, they're second and third base stuff. I haven't gotten close enough yet, but I'm still going to the woods.
Well, with your program, do you see the decimal level or?
The hertz level and the, yeah, on the spectrogram you can put that up on there. And it can show you all those sounds and what pitches they use. You can have the lengths of how long the howls are or whatever. And yes, it does show up on those.
Well, I just figured you know, you could probably eliminate a lot of stuff that's not in the range you're looking for.
And again, with the right software, you might be able to do that. And again, maybe I can with this too, but I have too much fun in the woods. I don't spend as much time with it as I should, I
Well, I'm
guess.
just wondering if they have a program like that. Now, I've got the one you got.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but it's...
Well, I know there's people that do a lot better job with it. Again, you know, there's folks out there, again, there's one with the BFRO. I mean, he cleans stuff up like nobody's business. The guys down in Texla, they've cleaned up some audio with me, and I mean, what they can do, as far as I'm concerned, is miracles. And you know, maybe one day when I can't get out in the woods anymore, then maybe I'll learn some of that stuff. But I just like being in the woods too much. I don't spend as much time with some of that as I should. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Randy, have you ever heard of something in the woods that makes your chest vibrate? It's so loud.
Yeah, that one time, I didn't have the audio recorder running, so I don't like to talk about when I don't have it. Yeah, there can be sounds close enough where, yeah, you feel them. You know, I mean, I had that one howl that one day is the only way I can describe it, that, yeah, it just seemed to go right through the damn bone. You know, but it's a story. I don't have nothing to back it up because I didn't have the recorders running at the time. Anybody else? Well, Well, I thank you very much for coming and listening to us this morning, and